It's 3 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners Ways and Means Committee meeting for August 24th, 2021, and it is 3 p.m. I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Laring.
Here.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Pego.
Here.
Chairman Skolnick.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
Commissioner Seer.
Here. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes of August 3rd, 2021. Get a
So
motion?
moved.
Support. Motion and support. Is there any comments at all? All in favor of, say aye, please.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 4 is public comment on an agenda item, something that is on the agenda. The 4 items I have here do not look like they are on an agenda item, so the public comment will be held till the end of the meeting. Say what?
I don't see anyone online with their hand up.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5 is communication budget reports. Somebody have budget reports or something to file?
File.
Okay, we'll put those on file. Items for consideration. Item number 1 is WM 21/08-81 to approve the payment of the accounts payable of $4,066,562.78 covering the period from July 23rd, 2021 through August 5th, 2021 for checks as presented by the county clerk.
So moved. Support.
I have a motion and support. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Seeing none. Any voice vote on this? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes. That item passes. Next item is WM 21/08-82 to approve the financial 1-year optional renewal with Raymond Robeson as the county's independent auditor for the fiscal year 2021 audit at a cost of $67,100 and to authorize the board chair to sign the engagement letter.
So
I will make that motion, confirming first that that is the correct name of the company, the organization now. I think it might have changed.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or otherwise? Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm
Please.
the Director of Finance. Unless something's happened in the last week, I'm not aware that they've changed that.
Okay, thank you.
Did we have a support for that?
support.
Thank you.
Yes, we do. Commissioner. Beth, did you check that just to make sure?
I will.
Thank you. Okay. Have a roll call on this one, please.
Commissioner Laring.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes,
Commissioner Seer.
Yes. That item passes. The next item is WM 21/08-83 to approve entering into an agreement with Lean Advisors Incorporated to provide lean government training and technical assistance at a cost of not to exceed $24,000 for the Public Health Department and authorize the board chair to sign the
So
agreement.
moved.
Support.
I have a motion and support. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Yeah. wait a minute. In my recollection, lean has to do with being environmentally responsible, but this is not that. What is?
Kathy Moore, Public Health Director. You are correct. This is part of the lean government, especially as part of the lean quality assurance, quality control system, where the organizations look within at its operations for organizational efficiencies, improvements in customer service and customer support.
Okay, so nothing to do with the other lean.
No, and part of that should result in future savings once you streamline operations, but maybe not right away.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Larry?
So you're referring to Marcia as lead, not lean, and,
Oh, you're right.
Lead.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
my preference would be that every department would go through this training and certifications.
That is the goal going forward. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Assisting in that, moving that forward.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote on this one, please?
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Waring,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes. That item passes. Next item is WM 21/08-84 to approve that the Muskegon County Courts Court Recording System Project RFP 21-2397 be fully funded in the amount of $858,586.10 in accordance with the bid proposal submitted by the selected vendor, Business Information Systems, BIS, and to amend the fiscal year 21 budget accordingly.
So moved.
Support.
Have a motion and support, questions, comments, and concerns on this item. Commissioner Hovey Wright?
Yes. So it is partially budgeted. The difference in the current system versus the proposed system is it's double the cost. And I know that 177,000 is made up in savings with the plan, but that still leaves 245,000 not budgeted and no plan. At least I don't know what the plan is to pay for that. So I have some concerns about the financing, but also I was contacted by a woman who came in the audience, who came in right after the public comment part. And I would ask the chair to allow her to speak. Maybe after.
Who is she?
Yeah,
Marcia?
I didn't write her name down.
Kathy Stevens.
Kathy Stevens.
From.
She's
Oh, okay.
the circuit court
okay,
reporter that
okay.
would lose her
I
job.
was just going to ask somebody. So please address this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Sandra Vanderhyde, the Circuit Court Administrator. Thank you so much. As you recall, back in the fall, you did approve from the unassigned fund balance of $435,800 so that we could go out for an RFP then for a new court recording system. We had used the most recent quote that we had. When we did then, by approval of our chief judges in January, go out for the RFP in March, we learned that, like everything else during the pandemic, prices have increased. Now the quote is up to $858,586. Now that's going with a different vendor than the current vendor that we have. The current vendor that we have actually had an estimate of over $1 million. Very scary to see those numbers. So we are now then asking that you guys go ahead and approve this increased amount. And I think that how you fund it and how you pay for it is certainly going to be up to you. This board motion, as well as the next board motion, both reference that in circuit family court, we only have one remaining court recorder, and that is, she's right here. This is Kathy Stevens. And Kathy Stevens has been the only one. I've been here for 9 years, and in my whole time here, she's been the last remaining court recorder. Before I was a court administrator, former court administration, when it came time every year when we'd have to cut funds, he'd often say, we are paying $89,000 general fund for this last person that we don't need because we have the equipment. But what we knew about Kathy Stevens is that she wasn't fully eligible for retirement yet. She didn't meet her age in the years in order to fully retire. So she was able to stay on her position until now. And now she's finally able to reach she's full retirement age. She has her full years in, so she's finally able to reach her full pension benefits. So then that's why we're proposing that this position be eliminated with the end of this fiscal year. And now with the opportunity to get our new court recording system, which we direly need because the rest of our JAS court recording systems are now obsolete, it just makes sense to do it now when she's finally eligible for her full retirement. And Chief Judge Hicks has just arrived. He's been doing a jury trial today, but he did arrived just in the nick of time.
Saved at the end.
Trying to hide in the corner.
Mhm.
But at this point, if you wanted to let Kathy Stevens speak, then you certainly could, and then Judge Hicks could follow up.
Look at it.
I have copies for everyone, but I'll be speaking.
We received these in our email as well.
Did everyone get them? Because I didn't get emails to everybody.
No,
When did that email come?
Thank you. Oh, I didn't.
recently, yeah.
It's 2 minutes.
Stop driving.
Bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I'm Kathy Stevens. I work for Judge Smedley. I started out here 26 years ago with Judge Graves. At that time, there was 4th Circuit Court reporters. And there was a verbal agreement reached between the 4th Circuit judges that as the reporter left, the video system went in. The first attachment is a copy of that article that came out in the Legal News in 2006, where Kay Somerville, who was the 3rd reporter that was retiring, mentioned the attrition agreement with the county commissioners. Next up is a copy of a few excerpt transcripts that I was able to find in the various courts here with the video systems. And if you just glance through it, I've circled how many unintelligible answers there are. These transcripts are being made throughout the county because of this system. Court reporters write verbatim. We don't miss a word. And we don't go obsolete. The next letter is from a defendant. You can read, he's very unsatisfied with his transcript. In one of his transcripts, he had 47 unintelligible answers in just one of his hearings. And he's writing the letter to the transcriptionist who has no, she just tries to, record what she can hear. It's the system that's being made. It's not any bad words on top of the transcriptionist. They can't hear the words, they're mumbled, they talk over each other. But this is what I'm being replaced with. Next is the transcript, the excerpts of the transcript that he was complaining about, 47 unintelligible transmissions in one hearing. Here's a copy of a recent transcript I did. There's no inaudibles, there's no unintelligibles, it's every word. This is my letter from Judge Hicks saying that my job is eliminated September 30th of this year. This is another memo that I copied where Ms. Dick is saying
You have
she's
15
saving $1
seconds.
million from the furloughs. And always the position is that, I cost too much to employ. Although there was the agreement with the 4th Circuit judges. Now, any questions you have?
Thank you.
I think the Muscatine County residents deserve better. Oh, and with that.
Judge Hicks, would you like to expound a little bit?
I've been a judge since 1996. This has been the most unpleasant and most challenging and most divisive issue we've had since 1997. I'm very aware of the personal cost. When I was chief judge in 2002, Judge Graves drew a marker in the sand and asked me then to come before you and lobby to keep this position on board forever. The agreement, I'm not going to question the agreement about attrition. It seems not inappropriate to me, but I think the agreement was always pretty vague. Was it until the judge retires, Judge Graves, until the court reporter retires, or whatever? And I think by any reasonable definition, we have fulfilled those commitments to Kathy. I don't think she's saying she has lifetime employment, which now that she's fully vested, I don't think anybody's claiming there's lifetime employment made. I remember when Judge Graves was making the argument in 2002, the argument was that Kathy had 3 little boys. And now the argument is that she has 3 boys headed for college. So none of that lessens the personal pain. The thing that it's unfortunate because we're on the same floor, and I've taken to avoiding the elevator when Kathy's headed that way for probably the last 8 or 9 years. So I'm very aware of pain. And I really, unfortunately, think that she thinks when I go home at night, it's like, let's get the court reporter. But 5 of the 6 of us have done just fine with video for a long, long time. I've never had the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court, call me back and say, hey, you're giving us transcripts that don't work. With the nature of my work, I'm probably the most appealed person, Judge Maretti and I'm judgmentally here. That sounds bad, but with the criminal docket, pretty much everybody appeals, even when you are sentenced to the deal you got, you still appeal. So never has that happened. I went so far as, we joined this battle again a few months ago. I called a friend of mine who's now retired, and he's a commissioner on the Supreme Court. So he's one of the people that who draft the opinions. And I said, Sammy, you seeing any differences with people in video? And he says, no, we're not. Now, I think you're talking about the Larry Darnell Jones transcripts that you handed out. Okay. Mr. Jones is a colorful character. For a while, he called himself the Lord of Divine Justice. And Judge Kabza gave him a huge sentence for obstructing justice back in about 96. And so if you look at the register of actions that we maintain, Larry probably has the record. He's probably filed, time for that? But you know the number, I mean, Larry's register of actions probably is up to 800 by now. I mean, he's filed everything in the world, and I have good reason to think that he's now wired in with the New York Times, because we're getting interesting inquiries from a New York Times reporter who's asking about, he wants all of our obstruction of justice statistics since 1995. And we don't have that many of those cases. Larry is very hard to understand. I could barely understand him when he was there talking to me, so I don't quarrel with what Kathy's saying, but I think that's an aberration. And to tell you the truth, I was probably so tired of Larry. I think I've written opinions 8 or 9 times that I probably wasn't as diligent as I should have been. But once he got going, if I had stopped him every single time and said, could you do this, give me a word and things like that. So it wasn't a machine problem. It was me not saying, could you say that word again, say that word again, say that word again. I could have been there for 2 weeks just trying to make a good record. So for me, the bottom line has always been this. There is heartbreak, but we're spending your money. And for me, it's been unconscionable for the bench for 18 years now. There's the argument that we have the deal, but this is not Bob Skolnick's company or Doug Brown's company where you can make the decision to spend or not spend your own money. And by any reckoning, it is far cheaper to go to a video system that across the nation, everybody is going to, that gets the job done. And that's the best way I can say it to you. I know there are heartbreak issues. Like I said, we have kept Kathy going until she's totally fully vested. And I just think years ago, we probably should have made the move. I mean, we have other ways to get the same job done. The only time, don't say anything, I ever had a problem with the Court of Appeals was when they called me and said, you know, Judge Hicks, after you took a break when one of the attorneys got mad, you forgot to turn the video on. So we missed the closing argument for one of the attorneys. Mike shouldn't laugh. And but they still affirmed me, even with the gap in the record. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but I just want you to know this has not been easy for any of us.
Yeah, and you know, I think we have to have a system that is working and that we can replace the parts, et cetera. But where are we gonna get that 245,000 that's not budgeted or part of the savings?
Well, this is not fluff, you know, I'm not the money person. But we have to develop a record. So our alternatives are video or to keep Kathy on and bring other people back and things like that. I will say this, video has some advantages. One advantage Kathy cites is that if you have the court reporter there, you have the ability to say, that's unintelligible, repeat it, or to fill in the gap. You know, when somebody uses street language or something like that. But with video, there are less HR issues, frankly. If you want to work through lunch or work after lunch, you can do those things. You know, Kay Somerville, my original court reporter, was a wonderful lady, but she lived in Granville. So there were days that we couldn't get started on time because Kay was late because of snowy weather and stuff like that. There are times now when people say, can I get, can I see it? Attorneys do that stuff for teaching purposes. There are times like today when sometimes we replay something when I'm working on an opinion. Judge Ruck was pretty famous for taking stuff home and watching it again and using it to make his opinions. Their video also gives us a better record when somebody, as my kids like to tease me about, fakes a feint in front of me. And so with the court reporter, you'd say, defendant pretends to faint and falls over. But with video, you can see where it says the defendant says, Elizabeth, it's time, and does all that. So in some ways, we have a better record that way. But the 245, that's why you guys are here and Beth is here and Sandra's here. But I'm just telling Marcia, we have to have a record somehow, somewhere, or someplace.
Mr. Pagel, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were here, I think on July 17th, may be the right date or not, but didn't you guys present this as part of our work session of the American Rescue Plan funding request?
I thought so.
I have that here. So
I thought we did.
it was $1 million, I think is what was the estimate, which may or may not change.
Well, my program is obsolete, and so is Judge Marietti's, I think. So in addition to the new one that Judge Smedley would have, we've got to replace, I think, right? The other, I don't know what Judge Hoekstro's is like.
All of that.
The probate too. So
That was
five
explained,
of the 16 to be.
right, that was explained in the work session that we had that kind of ended in the middle of that, but abruptly, but there's just not enough details in this, like how long is the system going to be working for? What's the lifespan, the maintenance agreement? Do you have a maintenance agreement with this company? This just lacks a lot of more details that we would need in addition to that other amount that we don't have available. So I think that it would be best to move it back to the American Rescue Plan funding.
Yes, those answers to those questions.
Great.
This one comes with a 3-year maintenance agreement.
Correct.
And then as far as the lifespan, so the one we have right now is very much hardware based again. Some
So
of this
it's
is
a
from
3-year maintenance
July
agreement?
17th. Correct.
Sorry, I'm gonna back up.
3-year maintenance agreement.
And we typically spend currently about $58,000 a year across all courts on maintenance agreements for the existing system,
All 10.
all 10.
58,000 a year currently for upkeep.
Correct.
And the maintenance agreement is included into your 5-year funding
Included in
plan.
this cost.
But what is the
3-year maintenance
lifespan?
agreement
Yes,
of the full system? What's the lifespan?
Correct.
So right now, our current system is hardware based. So that's why we're talking about parts having to be replaced. This new system is software based. So a lot of updates we're going to need. They don't have to come in and swap out equipment. So it sounds like we're thinking 7 to 10 years for this new system.
I think from an accounting standpoint, they would generally look at about a 7 years depreciation for this type of equipment. It's IT technology, so that technology is constantly being upgraded and modified and adapted. I'm sure that there'd be somebody here trying to sell us on something much sooner than that, but I think we could rest reasonably assured that it would last at least the 7 years that we would bank on.
Mr. Chair, can I have a question?
Yes.
Did you mention earlier that the hardware that is currently that we're using is old, antiquated, and cannot even be found?
It's correct. They don't make it anymore.
So it'd be
Yeah,
nice to get
it's-
into the 21st
To the extent that they have to repair or replace anything, it has to come literally cannibalized from another system somewhere that's already been deemed obsolete and taken out of service.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes, go ahead.
Sandra,
Now, this new one, I got the impression that this was gonna be much better quality too, in recording and everything, so some of our issues that we've had before probably are not existing, this is like that.
Correct. What's neat is there's multiple microphones and it knows when someone's talking, it knows to use that microphone and to mute the other so we don't get the background sound. So there's features like that that make this a lot better than what we currently have.
And in addition to that, Commissioner, the district court currently doesn't have any system that has operating cameras in it. This would add cameras to all the district court systems. So now we only use an audio record that is supplemented by a log that's created by the sitting court recorder. And those are used in tandem to help recreate what the verbatim record report is. Having the cameras in place in district court would allow for the record to include the video as well, as like we see currently in some of the circuit court systems.
Thank you.
Is our IT equipped to, maintain your equipment, or is it
We'll have the
outsourced?
3-year maintenance agreement, so that's gonna cover a lot. But we do each have our own IT person. So mine is Sean Somerville and his is Ryan Foster. And now we have the Dan All, who serves on IT for the entire HOJ. So fortunately, they do have a lot of knowledge on the current court recorder system, and they're gonna sit through as we all learn the new court recording system. So I'm sure there's gonna be things that they're gonna be able to do for us, but we'll also have that maintenance agreement in place.
That's usually the first call we make is to our internal IT to see if there's an issue that they can remedy. And then if not, then if there's additional service or expertise they need, then they will call in the vendors.
Commissioner Nash, please.
I got two concerns, and one is the presentation and the process. And when I'm speaking of presentation, when I look at the two agenda items ahead of this, we've got a lot of documentation and information that supplies us a lot of information that supports this. But I don't see any agreement. I don't see any materials, hardware. I don't see, the comparison between other vendors. I don't see any of that or how we came about to this proposal. The other problem I have is the process. I don't feel that process has been followed. If we're looking at this from the ARP funds, then I think it should be going through the ARP process, because this is going to circumvent that. And if that proposal is already included in that, why are we jumping the gun here now? This is going to cause other departments to want to do the same thing, and then we're going to run into a problem. And I think we should start looking at trying to get these things included at one time and moving forward. I agree, we do need to have a system. We need some updates, but the way we're doing this, I'm kind of concerned about.
Commissioner Nash, I'll definitely let maybe Mark help with the second question. But as far as the first question, that one we can help answer. So as you recall, several years ago, we had Jill Booth come in to talk about the separation between the county and the courts. So this RFP process was done through the courts. So it was something that the chief judge has the authority to approve going out for the RFP. We had a committee that did the interviews. We did end up attaching to it the final selection paperwork as advised by Jamie Burmeister. But when it came to the selection process and now doing the contract, that's all then outside of your scope, and that's under the authority of the courts. So that part you wouldn't see. But we are working with VAS right now. They're in the process of drafting the final agreement based off of the proposal that was accepted.
And one of the things that we
When you
want
say out of our scope, this does have to go through the county for approval, correct?
Not the RFP, no, but the motion, or excuse me, the actual funding of it. That's why we're looking to you. If we could fund this ourselves,
That's my point.
you wouldn't be
And
part of it at
and
all.
when you bring something forward, it should be accompanied with all the documentation that we need to see it all. Because all these questions are because we don't have this information. And I don't like to make decisions with this amount of money on the fly. And plus we're, and then the second part is a whole nother discussion.
So as far as the funding, if I may answer this question, the funding.
Yes.
We discussed this, just the funding, like you pointed out a few weeks ago, and there's more to come. We haven't even done more today. So on this motion here, what we wanted to discuss is, one, do we move forward with this program? At that point, you have two options to decide where the funding comes. You already committed to 435,000. So the difference between 5 years. So the difference between that and the 858,000 would come out of the unassigned. So we have one option is take the rest of it out of unassigned, or take back the 435,000 and have it come out of the American Rescue dollars, which qualifies under option one as well. So either way, we as a board, the board has to make a decision, are they gonna fund this project? And then yes, then we come back with another motion with a lot of other projects listed as well, as this is what's coming out of American Rescue Dollars. So that was done on purpose, not to identify the American Rescue Dollars. Because you're correct, you've all been listening patiently about all the funds coming in. In September, we'll be bringing back a list of things that should come out of American Rescue Dollars. This would be one of them.
Commissioner Laring, please.
So we've got, these two motions are kind of connected. We have an employee that wants to stick around a little bit longer. How long, I'm not sure. Secondly, we have the American Rescue Dollars are bringing a financial boondoggle to the county. We want to redo the court rooms. We've already acknowledged, I think it was an $11 million ask to redo all of the courts. This system may be in the cloud, but it's going to be hardwired in. And if we change all of these courtrooms, this whole system is also going to have to move, and it's going to have to be reinstalled later. I think it should be, my personal opinion is it should be included in the renovation of the courts, which we're talking about doing with American Rescue Dollars. And we've already got a court reporter that doesn't want to leave yet. I understand that we want video recording, but it seems, in my mind, a bit premature. We've got somebody who wants to stay. It's filling the gap between the video systems. This is part of the courtroom remodel that we're talking about that's going to happen. We have to spend all that money in 3 years. So I don't know if she wants to stick around for 3 more years, but we have a major remodel project. This whole system will have to be completely taken down and put back up for the new courtrooms. And we're going to have another cost at retrofitting a system that was just installed. It's not really a question. It's just my statement. Thank you.
We do have a temporary system in place now because in Kathy Stevens' preparation for being done at the end of September, she's taking a lot of time off. So we had a portable unit that's up there right now to do the video recording. So we're all set there. And then again, with software based. So fortunately, there's not going to be a lot of hardware as a result.
And I guess I would also note too, that any renovations will be done with the circuit court, which are 2 courtrooms on the 6th floor. There are many other courtrooms and hearing rooms and referee hearing rooms included in this proposal that would not be affected by any potential renovations using any other funds.
I think in the motion review, you had mentioned to Mr. Lawrence question that because it was software, it's not.
But
hardware.
so if I still have the floor?
Go ahead, yes.
So I didn't really have a question, but you answered the non-question. Thank you. You can call it software-based. That camera was software-based. It's going to the cloud or YouTube. It still took us 3 months to install the dumb thing after it was approved. If we move this room, it'll take another 3 months to get the camera reinstalled, and it's in the cloud. So you can't tell me that this is software-based and it's in the cloud, but it still has people that are wiring stuff up and creating drawings for it. I see it as doing the same thing twice. That's just my point. And
Is the vendor chosen, how's the price compared to the vendor, the other ones?
We had mentioned that earlier that the current system was over $1 million. And this quote is only $858,000.
And it was the cheapest of them or?
There was a few that were cheaper, but they weren't a full solution. They were just a few parts.
Commissioner Pago, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna back up to what County Administrator Eisenbarth was explaining. If you can clarify, you mentioned there was a couple different options. One was to take back the 435 or 400 and whatever it was, take that back. Can you explain that and why would that be a benefit?
Yeah, back in September, we, the collective board at the time, set aside $435,800 for this project. So that money has not been spent yet.
Right,
Because we went out for another.
but you take that back. What, can you explain why that would be a benefit? Explain that
Because that
process.
goes back into our general fund.
Mhm.
That's where it came from. It came out of our unassigned fund balance. So that's where that money would go back to. And instead, you take it from the federal dollars of the American Rescue Plan.
Or what was the other option? If they decided to keep that half that was already voted on and committed?
if you kept it 435,800 and moved forward with it, we would need the additional amount to cover the additional cost added unassigned fund balance.
Which
you'd be
So the
taking
other,
more
so the
out of
other half couldn't come out of the ARP and keep this half as allocated? I'm just trying to clarify.
I suppose you make that an option, but yeah, idea is, as Commissioner Laring stated, it needs to be spent in 3 years.
Right,
Your own general fund doesn't need to be spent in 3 years.
Right.
So
I understand.
ideally-
just so everybody can hear all the options, that's why I'm asking.
Good point.
So,
I think the other aspect of that, Commissioner, is the ability to not have to finance this over. the
No,
course of
I
a number of
understand that. I just wanted everyone to have that
Yep.
clarified options, all transparent, that's all. So, thank you.
Commissioner Howie Wright, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the four, or the 850,000, 58,000 is over 5 years. Is it paid over 5 years? Like, would we divide by 5 and that's how much it would come out of each budget?
No, let me clarify something. If you took it out of the American Rescue, it'd be a one-time.
Right.
payment.
Right.
If you didn't use the American Rescue and use your own unassigned fund balance, the idea would be to spend over 5 years.
So it'd be spread out then.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be,
But the
Big
American
chunk of
Rescue
money.
dollars, you can't spread over 5
right,
years.
right, I know that,
Spend it.
okay.
You
Okay.
can spend it over 3 years.
Commissioner Pagel.
It makes a little bit of sense.
I'm sorry,
It's hard to-
Commissioner, chairs. only,
I was
please.
just, one of the questions I had was, transcripts aren't even required unless things appeal, is that correct?
Not necessarily. They could be requested and ordered and paid for in any court hearing. There's generally, usually in terms of appeal, but anyone could request them and have them created.
So are these systems then like word to text, so there's no person transcribing it?
There is a feature that is included that would allow for, I think, what they colloquially call a dirty transcript, that would allow for a verbatim written transcript to be created. That would still have to be reviewed by a court recorder, analyzed for accuracy, and then certified by the court recorder for the transcript to be an official transcript of the court.
Okay, so if it's recorded and a transcript is requested, because I know my experience with talking into the computer and getting it out isn't always accurate.
Correct.
So is that done by a live person then?
The actual transcription, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it can be done either way. I think oftentimes a certified court recorder would physically type everything that's being presented in the audio and video recording. Or also they could clean up that dirty transcript that's created by the computer to make sure that it comports with what's being seen and heard by the recording system.
So when they're doing that, they're making backup.
Correct. They're not doing it in real time. They're doing it from the recording.
They can, or look at a video to try to
Yes.
figure out what was said if they can
Yep.
understand. Okay.
Commissioner Pagel.
This is a comment, I think. So, Mrs. Stevens was shaking her head yes when someone, I think Commissioner Laring mentioned there's an employee that would like to stay on and doesn't want to leave her position. You currently have avenues of repairs that you've been doing to get along for right now until this new project is going to happen. We've kind of already determined the consensus is this new project is going to happen with the courts. I don't know if there's a way we can just remove this from the agenda and push it back to the ARP or and what this gal has for recourse to keep her job longer. I don't know who answers those, but.
Commissioner Hughes, please.
I have a question too. Is it possible to, I guess, I don't know who to ask this question to. We know that we're gonna have to go to this eventually. This has already been vetted out for us. Could we go ahead and approve this? And then decide, I mean, it's not, we're not gonna have to pay for it tomorrow.
Right.
Could we then decide, within the next 60 days where the money's gonna come for to pay for it? But at least get it on its way to,
Right, and that's our intent, seeking support the project. And once it does, then
then
I
we
think the next few weeks we'll be going through the rest of American Rescue Plans, and then we'll bring a list. This would be one of the items on that list. Commissioner Nash, I think you asked us to, last time asked us to prioritize this list. And once we hear more of the projects, we could prioritize this list. This would be one of them as well.
so we could pass this with the funding,
That would have to be amended.
yeah, we could amend the motion to have the amount needed to, where it comes from to be determined.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it says.
But I still,
Budget accordingly, amend budget accordingly. And I'll come back to you
Okay,
to
so it would come,
finalize when.
so it would come back to us to amend the budget accordingly. I got it. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I think that. makes
but the
sense.
summary, if you look at the summary of the request, though, it's still talking about the 435.8 over the 5 years of financing, and then we still have an employee that does not want to leave her position.
Do you have other situations with employees who come to you and don't want to leave their positions?
I've not been here long
Yeah,
enough.
we have what we have, yes.
Yeah, I respond to
Commissioner
that for
Nash,
2
please.
minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, I guess I'm trying to figure out why one question. Because if we were
Thank
gonna
you.
have the meeting regarding the ARP funds and try to figure this out, we could have possibly tried to work this decision into that also. That way we could really bring forward a motion that was ready to go. But I think right now it's kind of catching everybody off guard. Plus, we're talking about it being tied into the second motion, which is even more complicated. But because I'm concerned also too, because you know, technology is great, but it's technology don't work, it's terrible. And then you know, we're talking about video, but what about when the video doesn't get turned back on? Or what do we do when this system's not up and running adequately? You know, our personnel can be a great substitute. And also, I mean, are we gonna be dishing out videos to people when they come up and ask for it? Are they gonna get original transcript, you know,
You already
as
said
a
videos.
transcript?
Yeah, we have a local administrative order that governs all of those things. Yep.
Okay. Now, if we're sending people video transcripts, is that cost enormous now, or is that normal?
It's free. We emailed them the attachment of the video after they sign a consent.
That's for general public? Okay. But yeah, that's my only concern is what Commissioner Larry, you know, some of this transition that we're trying to do with the upgrades, plus we're gonna do this Explorer, and I get all that, you know, part of it. But technology is a big issue.
Commissioner, I can say this. I know in my courtroom, we rarely have a technological hiccup with it. And it's JAF now, right?
Right.
And so a few times we have, they've had somebody here within an hour or two. So the 6 of us, I don't think most have had any technological hiccups, I think.
Mr. Seer,
Yes, Commissioner.
can I make a motion to table this, please? Second.
To table or postpone? To table, it comes back up for the.
Postpone to the next
Postpone
Ways and Means,
Until when?
to the next
30
Ways and Means
days.
Committee. To the next,
Give us after our discussion.
Well, we bring it back before you approve the board, which is 30th of September, the 31st of September. Before then.
I just have one comment on that. My concern is that, and Sandra hasn't been able to tell us this, but I know sometimes you get a bid, and I know technology prices go up and down really rapidly. And I'm guessing that this is only good for 30 days. The bid is only good for 30 days.
we didn't get enough details to see
I
that.
don't
We need
know.
more
Correct me if
details.
I'm wrong,
I'm
the motion to table precedence, that ends the conversation.
And I had a second, so.
No, it ends the conversation, we have to vote on the table.
Postponement.
Correct. I used the wrong terminology. Thank you. I made a motion to postpone is correct terminology. Commissioner Hobie Wright seconded.
But we should determine what meeting we're postponing till.
I said till the next Ways and Means. Committee.
Next Ways and Means, what date is that? Does anybody know? 2 weeks? Okay. All right,
Mrs. Vanderhyde, would you be able to have the missing details to fill in all of the gaps by the next?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Has to vote on the motion on the floor.
okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wilkins, motion to postpone. Commissioner Brown,
No.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
No,
Commissioner Laring,
No,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes,
Chairman Skolnick,
no.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes,
5 yes, 4 no.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one question too? Back in
yes, please.
September, when it was 400 and some thousand, why was it implemented at that time? It seems like we're running into this.
Please take control of the meeting.
Okay, okay, sorry.
All right, so that item has been postponed. I don't know how that affects the next item. Next item, WM 21/08-85, to approve the attached Circuit Family Court Position Transition and Reorganization Plan.
So
Mr.
moved.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until. the next
Second.
meeting.
We have a motion to postpone, and we have a second on this item. Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright. Yes. Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes,
9 yes.
that I was postponed, and I assume till the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
The same one? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Yes. Hearing none, the next item is new business. Does anybody have any new business?
Mr. Chair, I do have a item of new business, and this is not a dig at at Commissioner Skolnick. But at these committee meetings, as I've been sitting here, a number of commissioners have raised their hand to speak. And as you're paying attention to the presentation, you can't see the hands being raised. I would prefer that the board or the committee chairs actually sit at the front where they can see where the individual hands are being raised.
I have had a problem with that.
And so, not necessarily business, but I'd appreciate it because I know Commissioner Nash had his hand raised probably, and Commissioner Skolnick did a long,
Yeah, and I
and you couldn't see it. So, just for a vantage point, and that's for all the committees. I'm not making a motion, but for all of my committee chairs to maybe take that into consideration.
So we'll
Thank you.
switch seats with Mr. Skolnick.
To switch seats when you're leading the meeting so that you can see the peripheral who's raising their hand or would like to speak. It's not a motion, just a request from my chair.
I would agree with that, because you were just listening, you couldn't see.
Yeah, I can miss what she was. Okay, thank you. Any other new business at all? Anybody? Hearing none, we're moving on to public comment. I have some public comments here.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
She's,
I just wanted to be assured then with what's happened today and the termination letter is as of September 30th, but I still have my job until a decision is made.
I don't think we do that. That's up to your boss. It
HR
could be
The chief
your
judge
judge.
decision.
That's his decision, not ours. Even just in place.
Okay, I have, let's see, we have 2 minutes for each item. I have the name Jen Conadike.
Hi, my name is Jen Kneindyke. I live in Muskegon. I have 2 children currently in high school. I'm here today proactively to speak about masks. I'm sure you've heard a lot about them, so I just wanted to come today and just come as a citizen. And I wanted to speak about the possible mandating of masks in our community, especially in our schools. My kids started school this week, and I'm very grateful that we got to start out our school year with a choice about masks. Parents should make decisions for their own families, and I ask that this continue, that individuals are able to make a choice. And that's all, just short and sweet. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Conadike. The next, Vicky Goss.
I'm Vicki Goss. I'm a retired school nurse from Montague. I served a number of years there. I am a parent, a grandparent. I am very concerned about this mask mandate that seems to be coming down the pike. The kids, and I should also add, I'm the mother of a teacher that has to stand up. She's an English teacher. She has to stand up and read to her kids all day. We have talked about it. She said, "Mom, I can't think as clear. I can't breathe as good. I don't feel good." we are doing this to our children. We're taking the choice, if they mandate this, we are taking the choice away from the parents. And you're going to get the schools or the government. And I don't think it's right. I worked in the school. I know firsthand, I took care of the kids that vomited around me, that I sent home, that I took care of these kids every day for years. I know that as soon as they get back to school, as a group, they're going to pick up a virus. If they haven't gotten their immunity built up, it's going to happen. It happens when they go back to school, happens at Christmas time after they go back, happens after spring break, every year. And I don't want to see our government take away the parents' responsibility. If kids need to wear a mask, fine, let them wear a mask. But let kids be kids. They're good with these viruses. They respond. But don't do it to the people that have to get up in front. It needs to be a choice. And I appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Ms. Moss. Marcia Dillon, the next one I have here.
Hi, I'm Martha Dillon. I'm from 207 Robinwood, Whitehall. And my concern also is the masking situation. If you've watched kids, they fiddle with them. They got them off, they got them on. The germs are everywhere. And, you know, I've heard some of my great grandchildren now, and my grandson that's in college, that they've got irritation areas and different things like that. The breathing is restricted. It makes it much harder. And I'm one of those senior citizens that supposedly is being protected, and I don't want them. I noticed the one gentleman up here trying to talk and the mask was going in and out. I mean, it's really hard. And to have our kids that are out in sports, running around, doing different things, and not being able to breathe freely, I think is very dangerous. And I really think that we should, you know, protect them in that way too. Not just, you know, we know that there's going to be bugs around. There always will be. This is not going to go away. It's here to stay. And we're going to have to face it. And just face it wisely and not mandate where people have no choice. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's American. Thank you.
Thank you, Still. Next up is Donna Pennington.
Okay, Donna Pennington, thanks for this opportunity to speak in a different way to you than the previous public commenters. In March 2020, millions of Michigan residents took action to flatten the curve for older adults who were most at risk for death from COVID-19. And as one of those at-risk older adults, I am profoundly grateful for those sacrifices that were made. Now I am vaccinated and relatively safe, and it is our children who are unprotected and need our help. The CDC recently updated its guidance to recommend that fully vaccinated people in areas of substantial or high risk would wear masks indoors, and recommend that all teachers, adults, staff, students in K-12 schools wear masks inside, even if vaccinated. Muskegon County has an 8.5% positivity rate and is, I believe, considered at very high risk. So in theory, all the adults in this room should be wearing masks, but heck, they're adults, so maybe we can choose. But I'm talking today about children and our responsibility, perhaps, to protect children. So as you may know, in Kent, Ottawa, Allegan, and in Kalamazoo counties, who are similarly at very high risk, the county health departments have issued mandates that students in K through 6th grade, through the age of 12, the age at which you cannot be vaccinated, would wear masks while they are in school. And I see I'm going to be running out of time, and my ask is that our public health department make a statement about how we are going to protect the children of Muskegon County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pennington. That's all I have.
You have some hands online.
Oh, we have some hands on.
Oh, you still have people up here too.
Oh.
You want to bring your
Yeah. bring me-
forms forward and he'll call you up.
I can't see anybody online, so that's not gonna. Thank you. Hey, Julie Reynolds is next.
Hi, thank you for having me today. I'll just get right to the point. I've worked in a number of schools, preschool, all the way through high school. I have a teaching certificate from Grand Valley at the master's level. I have early childhood development training, and I've worked in the school systems for over 10 years. In my experience and what I know about kids, masks limit discussion among students. They cause difficulty in young kids' development with speech and facial recognition. They can't see what you're doing with your face. They can't even see their teacher's expression when they read a story to them. It's damaging. They can't even see their peers' faces to properly interact. These are all parts of development that kids need from a very young age. Kids also can't keep them clean. They can't keep them on their face. They're constantly moving them. They're dirty and they have bacteria, so the kids are breathing in this bacteria as well as adults. So it's not hygienic and it's not healthy. At the college level, they reduce learning and discussion coming from friends who are professors. One at Grand Valley actually told me that the kids sit silent in the classrooms. Studies are out there that show masks to be ineffective. Fauci can't even decide consistently on his stance. I'm very against mandating health initiatives of any kind. If someone chooses to wear one and they're effective, then they shouldn't be concerned if others do not. It is un-American to mandate masks or vaccines. What I put on my face or in my body is my choice alone, not the county, not my workplace, not the president. It's unethical, it's inhumane. This is a slippery slope to be on, and I'm not supporting giving up personal freedoms. How far are we going to let this go as a society? We're basing these mandates not on science, but on massive amounts of fear. And fear is driving these decisions, and decisions can't be made when you're in a state of fear. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. And Norman?
And Derwin Muskegon. The following statement was made by Dr. Christine Parks, who received her PhD in cellular and molecular biology right here in Michigan from the University of Michigan Medical School. This statement was made at the House Workforce Committee meeting in Lansing on August 19th, 2021. Mask wearing is a biochemical nightmare. It's a metabolic nightmare that increases your risk for cancer. It increases your cardiovascular risk. It basically makes your body breathe. Your body is trying to. It's got too much CO2 in it, which actually helps cancer grow. It's actually extremely inflammatory. It's going to exacerbate every inflammatory disease, including diabetes and hypertension. It causes hypertension because your body is trying to breathe harder to actually maintain homeostasis. I'm not sure I can pronounce that correctly, but it can't because it keeps getting too much CO2 and not enough oxygen. So you are asking someone to put their health at risk. Some people can medically tolerate this, but many can't. Also, I would ask you to look at the revised school code, Act 451 of 1976, prohibiting practices. And one of those is any restraint that negatively impacts breathing. And I would encourage our county commission to stay on task and do the work of the county and not get involved in mask mandating. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Van.
Go ahead.
Oh, there you go.
Well, Mary Van Dam from Muskegon. I've been a server my whole life, a waitress. I'm not a professional, but I have a lot of wisdom. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of why I am very much against the masks. I don't know if all of you know about the monoclonal antibodies. They've been around since the beginning of this disaster. And they have not been spoken about by Mr. Fauci very much. And thank God for the ones that are rising up now. If you had taken a monoclonal antibody, you know what? Even our governor finally came out, and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, I've got their names. If you're interested, if you want to get educated and know what you're talking about, go to Google and find the article that says it's a miracle. And it's written by two very, very well-known medical people, one from our Department of Health in Michigan. So instead of making people wear a mask, if we could start at the county level, I don't care if you wear a mask or get vaccinated. What if, just what if, we had the ability to get part of those trillions of dollars for COVID relief? How about we start in this county and mandate that every home is able to get in-home testing that's proven to work? Because every morning I can get up, test myself. I'm COVID. I better stay home. I don't need a mask. We're grown-ups. If I'm sick and I've got COVID, I'm an adult and I know it because those tests are available. So if we can, I would ask that you guys see if I want them in my house. And every mother, you get up in the morning, come on guys, and do it twice to make sure you got the right answer. Got to stay home today. You got to stay home. So there's a lot of stuff out there. I am educating myself. There's all kinds of options beyond, and someone's going to answer why these antibodies were not spoken about.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you for listening to me.
Have Megan Hanks next.
Hi, my name is Megan Hanks, and I'm a parent of 3 school-aged children in Muskegon County. I come before you today to do my job as a mother and just ask that I am able to maintain the right to make healthcare choices for my children. Never before have I felt so completely helpless in my ability to do what I feel is best for my kids, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Last year, we followed all the rules, the masks, social distancing, etc. I thought I was doing the right thing. But as a parent, I felt increasingly uncomfortable with all the mandates being forced on my kids. I started doing research and found more studies on the ineffectiveness of masks and also the potential harm they cause. One article from LifeSite News alone lists 47 studies that confirm the ineffectiveness of masks for COVID, along with 32 more that confirm their negative health effects, all with reputable sources. COVID is not a danger to our children. The flu is far more dangerous to them per the CDC, and we have never forced such invasive restrictions on our children for the flu season. So why now? Overall, the negative effects of forced masking are far more dangerous to them than COVID. And when you know better, you do better. So therefore, I'm calling upon each of you to continue to protect our rights as parents and citizens and keep masks optional for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Sandy Glover.
My name is Sandy Gore, and I live in Muskegon County, and I'm here to say that I don't believe that children should be masked. It's hard enough for some adults and to breathe without having a mask on, let alone to have a mask on their face all day long. And these children like to run around, they like to play, and if you got a mask on your face, you can't do that. And I urge you to please let that be up to the parents to choose whether they want masks or whether they don't want to mask their children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy. June Cook.
Yes, I'm June Cook from Norton Shores. I have a BS in biology with a chemistry minor, and I worked as a chemist for 11 years before I decided to stay home and raise my family. I agree with a lot of what has been said about masks. None of these mask mandates have ever made sense to me from the beginning. We are dealing with an upper respiratory virus that is smaller than the holes in any mask. After more than a year and a half, we have data to guide us, yet we're ignoring it. The viruses affect predominantly the people 75 years of age and older who have comorbidities. I have seen people in their late 80s and 90s who have overcome COVID. Younger adults may be affected with the virus, but exhibit little or no symptoms. Children are unaffected by the virus unless they have comorbidities such as obesity and diabetes. And I think it's very ironic that through this whole thing, we have never talked about exercise and eating healthy. To demand that children wear masks is nothing more than child abuse. If a mandate requiring children to wear masks all day in school comes about, I hope there are many lawsuits. Our leaders are failing us with their demented, self-serving ideas of leadership. I would like to see Muskegon County not follow in those footsteps, but to leave it up to the parents as to whether their children wear masks. Thank you.
You have some online, don't you?
Okay, yeah, please help me on that. I
Okay,
can't see
go in
it.
order. Michelle Hazy-Camp, you're online. I'm gonna unmute you. Oh, I can't unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me?
You got 2 minutes.
Okay. Michelle Hayscamp, Muskegon County. I am also calling on the masks and trying to be proactive against possible mandates. Masking children violates school code MCL 380.1307B, which prohibits any restraint negatively impacting breathing. I realize that this code was written at a different time pertaining to a different form of abuse. However, nowhere in the code can I find where it would not also pertain to face masks. Abuse is abuse. Forcing our kids to wear masks is child abuse. And here is why. Now, I have several things, but a lot of people have already said them. So I've just got a couple here. One of the things, neurologists are speaking out on concerns for future brain damage. Dentists have been reporting increased dental disease, often called mask mouth. Masks interfere with vision. Masks can increase chances of getting sick. There are also children with disabilities who should not be wearing masks, and children who have been or are still being abused. I don't think a lot of people think about this, but kids being forced to wear a mask when they have been abused or are currently being abused is extremely traumatizing, and I can testify that for myself. And by the way, Muskegon is number 5 in the nation for traumatized kids. They don't work. They don't work at protecting anybody from any virus. They never have. They don't now. There should be no debate over this whatsoever. Everyone should be able to choose for themselves and their children whether they are to wear a mask or not. Parents have the rights and authority over their children and their health, not the government, health department, schools. These institutions do not know each child individually and their health status, nor do they know what medical treatments are best.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Next, we have Amanda Clark. Amanda, are you on? Can you unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Amanda Clark Fano. I have 3 kids in Muskegon the Muskegon County school system currently, and I also substitute teach in the school system. As a teacher, it was really hard for me to project my voice to the back of the class. I got headaches, felt lightheaded often, It hindered the ability to communicate non-verbally with the class. I would frequently give an affirming smile to a student or a look to correct their behavior. And with a mask on, you were just unable to do that. Working in ECSE classrooms, it was super difficult. We were trying to teach letter sounds and words to nonverbal kids. And to do that with a mask on your face is actually impossible. We had to pull the mask down to show our face and just be 6 feet away. My kids, they have said that they do not want to go to school if they have to wear a mask this fall, 2 of the 3. One said that she wants to go because she will miss her friends if she's unable. I just ask that you guys do not even consider forcing masks. Let it be a choice for those that need them. Our school system, they kept track as they were required, and it almost never was transmitted at school. I'm okay with social distancing or something, but to wear a mask is just impossible for us. My daughter that has glasses cannot see. She had to routinely wipe her glasses. My other daughter broke out all over her face when she had to wear it. And my son got headaches so bad and came home in tears that our pediatrician gave us a waiver for him. So please just let us have the choice, let parents parent, and not have to co-parent with the government.
Thank you, Amanda.
Mike Glancy. Mike Glancy, can you unmute? Oh, I think I disconnected him.
He's down at the bottom.
Sorry, Mike, can you call back in? Karen Palmer. Karen Palmer, can you unmute?
I have, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Karen Palmer, and I wanted to say that with regards to the science, I know you guys have heard a lot about science. I'm going to add a little bit more here. The other day, a German journalist who also happens to be a millionaire offered $1.2 million for anyone to prove the existence of COVID-19. It hasn't been isolated. If you have a so-called virus which hasn't been isolated, the CDC admits by their own admission the PCR tests are completely useless. All the case numbers are false. And just about everything on the Kent County, for example, Health Department 5-page so-called orders are then based on lies. They're based on deceit. They're based on things which are false. They're based on things which one might call fraudulent. Fraud vitiates everything. U.S. versus Throckmorton. So I want to encourage our health department director, Kathy Moore, to do the right thing. I have a feeling she knows the truth about all this stuff, but she's getting pressure from both sides. I want her to know that the public will back her if she tells the truth. That's what we want. All we want is the truth. Why are they doing this to only the kids, the little ones in school? It's because
it's on. I mean, the radio.
I need a little more time. I'm being interrupted.
30 seconds.
The children, no, I need more than 30. She interrupted me. No, stop the clock. The children were 6th grade and under. Well, why pick on only those kids? It's not because they can't get a shot, because the other kids aren't required to have a shot either. It's because they won't fight back. We know better. Their parents are fighting this. They're pulling their kids from the schools. And we know that the parents in the other school systems are rebelling. They're drawing a line in the sand. I think you'll have a problem in Muskegon County if you try to allow support or require a mandate for masks in schools. Thank you.
Mike Glancy, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak. Introduce myself. I'm from Muskegon, Michigan. I'm a principal research biochemist and have worked in the food and pharmaceutical industry and closely with FDA. I want to support everybody that has requested that we do not pass a mandate to mask our children. And most of these people that have given and spoken have done their own research to make this own decision. And I think we should leave this up to the parents to do what they feel is right for their own children. I must support the fact that there is no significant data to prove that this is going to help one way or another for our children. And I know that the children definitely need to be in contact with other children and have that social contact. And it is also good for their immune system. Helps build their immune system to fight off all kinds of infections, and it trains our body's immune system to react to it. So the more that we can come in contact with other people and socialize, I'm for it. One of the major things you must remember, I see more people in the rural areas in farming and everything that have been in contact with all kinds of animals and outdoor activity with plants and everything. They have less problems with their immune system fighting off any kind of diseases or infections than most people can imagine. Thank you for letting me comment.
Jason Hall, you're next. Can you unmute?
Jason Hall, Muskegon, Michigan. Thank you for taking my call. My statement is not just for the board, but for the public also. You've heard a lot of science today, but and a lot of emotion. And I know I've said in the past, these are people who care and they know how they're being treated, how they feel like they're being treated. Everyone on this board, every county employee took an oath. Every elected official took an oath to abide by the Constitution, the state and the federal. The county coverage, your good faith performance bond, your MMRA, you are the member. You hold the claim bond filing paper. MMRA will not hand those out to the public. But if the public asks you for that claim form, you are required to give it. They don't have to go to court if they feel you have violated your good faith bond and upholding your oath. They can file a claim on your bond. Who pays for that after the bond pays for that? Comes back out of your own pockets. All I ask is you follow the oath that you gave. Do the right things, uphold the Constitution. The government is not God. You are not God. God made us. We are in the image of God. Our bodies. You have no right to tell us what we have to put over our face, what we have to inject into our bodies. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I yield.
Thank you, Jason.
Lynn Sample, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I hope you can hear me. I've got a very weak signal. I'm going to do the best I can here. You got me?
You're very good.
Okay. I would like to speak regarding masks also, and I would like to point out that there's some virtue signaling going on the in this room. I was at Party in the Park on Friday night, and there was a certain commissioner there selling tickets and walking around without a mask on and greeting the public and having a gay old time. What's that mask doing there today? Something change? What's different? That speaks to a lack of virtue and morals. And I would like to point out, of the 28 principles of liberty, virtue is strung throughout. The most promising method of securing a virtuous and morally stable people is to elect virtuous leaders. The proper role of government is to protect equal rights. Men are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, and the majority of people may alter or abolish a government which has become tyrannical. Constitution should be structured to permanently protect the people from human frailties of their rulers. Only a limited and carefully defined power should delegate to the government. All others are retained in the people. People, you have to know that Mandates, statutes, and codes are not law. Law is what we need to abide by. Excuse me, I'm stumbling over my words here. Mandates, statutes, codes. That is not for us. If they want to follow them and submit themselves, fine. Parents, your children do not have to wear a mask. No one on that board can mandate it. They're outside of their responsibilities of their office.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody else?
I would ask if anyone else wants to speak. If not, you're done.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, my name is Kim Fiorenzo. And I do agree with most that are here as well, so I'm not going to get into the science or anything else that they've gotten into. What we haven't discussed is human trafficking. So I have a couple of grandchildren that walk to school. And when they get to school, well, before they get to school, they put their masks on. We all know that in an instant, someone can pick them up just like that in an instant. They have a mask on, they're not going to be recognized. You can have those great masks, those funny masks, Spider-Man mask, whatever you'd like. But a perpetrator that takes a child is going to take them and they're going to remove that mask and put on a different one. And you're not going to be able to know who that child is. So if for no other reason, which we have many reasons, and I appreciate everyone that has gotten up today, but think about that. If it was your child that actually was abducted and you put up a picture, no one would know who that child is. They wouldn't recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to final board comment. Anybody have a final board comment? Commissioner Hovey Wright, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's been much discussion at all levels about requiring masks in schools. Muskegon and Muskegon Heights have done the courageous thing and are requiring masks. And I hope that exceptions are made for some of the special medical diagnoses that make that difficult. Kent County, Kalamazoo County, Ottawa County have all made mask requirements. They have not cowered to politics, fear of lawsuits, or misguided parents. They have stood up for the health and safety of those students who cannot get the vaccine yet or who are medically fragile, and for protecting the community from the Delta variant or whatever comes after it. This issue is very personal with me. I have two great grandsons in Kalamazoo where masks are required. One is under 12 and can't get a vaccine, and the other has spina bifida and is medically fragile. I also have two grandsons in San Diego and a granddaughter in Decatur, Georgia, under 12. I am so thankful, and so are they, that school districts and health departments in their area require masks so their risk is minimized. Imagine the threat of lawsuits by parents of children in unmasked school districts who die or have lasting effects from COVID-19. They would have a truly legitimate lawsuit. We as a county have to put politics aside and do what is right for our school children. And now that the Pfizer vaccine has full approval, hopefully the vaccine hesitant will get their shots, making the whole community much safer. Thank you.
Anybody else? Final board comment?
Mr. Chair,
yes, Commissioner Laring, go ahead, please.
I don't know where to begin. I want to thank all the public comment that came in, but in particularly, as Marcia mentioned, courage. I want to mention our public health director, who truly showed courage in this issue in turning this mask mandate back to the schools where it belongs. School superintendents, the school boards were able to make a choice locally for their own schools. Some of them chose masks, some of them didn't. Some of them said optional, some of them said suggested. That's where that decision belongs in each local school districts, not at this board, not at this county health department. And Kathy did the courageous thing, and I support what she did. Ottawa County, Kent County, Allegan County all forced this. They have over 1,000 people at Ottawa. They started this afternoon, early after lunch, and they're probably still going for hours. They'll be going. The entire parking lot at Fillmore Center was packed up. There were cars out on the street. The line was outside of the building, public comment protesting the mask mandate at the Ottawa County Health Department. If we suggest or pressure our health director into that kind of a decision, we had speakers today supporting Kathy's decision. Can you imagine what's going to come into Muskegon County? It's going to be Planned Parenthood ×3. We will be outside of the building, moving to another location. If we infringe on our parents' rights to govern over their own children and take that upon ourselves, the public is going to come unglued. I strongly suggest that Kathy has taken the right role. I believe in masks. I wear a mask frequently at work when I'm in a hazardous environment. In fact, I've been fit tested, OSHA trained on how to wear a mask. Each mask, depending on the environment I go into, is particularly designed with specific filters for that environment. The mask you're wearing, there is no mandate on what is a proper mask and what isn't a proper mask. You could stick a piece of tape on your mouth or a Ziploc bag or a piece of Kleenex over your face. It is the only one that's really going to work is a Ziploc bag. That mask is not designed to keep out a virus. It is not going to work for what you think it is. This whole thing is ridiculous. So I've got a couple of statements, and this came from a very famous individual. It says, those that will give up liberty for safety deserve neither. So I intentionally went out and got COVID. I don't need a vaccination because I exposed myself to it, so I have antibodies in my system. All of you that are vaccinated, you have a greater chance of getting COVID than I ever will. I have antibodies in my system and a doctor's note that says so. This mask mandate, here's another little saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Yes. We locked the county down a year ago, and we're setting ourselves up to do it again through this ideology of let's flatten the curve, let's lock it down. It didn't work. We spent a year and a half under restrictions. And if we continue this process, if we go down mask mandates and closing the county, you know what? In 2 years, we're going to have the same problem. There's a pretty good chance everyone in this room is going to get COVID. I might even get the Delta variant. I'm going to go try to find somebody and expose myself to it that has a Delta variant. So I missed 5 days of work because of COVID or whatever it was. I heard some of the public comment that we don't know what it was I got. It had all the symptoms of what they describe as COVID, and I have antibodies for whatever it is in my system now. Maybe that's effective. I missed 5 days of work. You know what? It wasn't a cakewalk, but it wasn't that bad. And I'm perfectly fine, and I'm happy that I don't have to wear a mask or submit to a vaccination. And I'm going to go out and expose myself to the Delta variant, the first person I find that's willing to sit with me for an hour.
Maybe you can try the.
And that's how I got over it. Thank you, Marcia, for invading my comment. I got over it by taking ivermectin.
Prescribed by a doctor.
Correct.
5 days is all I missed to work. I took ivermectin. Thank you for that input, because I wouldn't have covered that. Ivermectin worked for me, and I missed 5 days of work. I have antibodies, and I'm clear. I had to have a negative test to go back to work, and I was over it in 5 days with ivermectin. Thank you for that, Marcia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other final board comment? Commissioner Hoey Wright?
Well, I shouldn't have mentioned that, I suppose, but I will. Mr. Laring has recommended the use of ivermectin for COVID on Facebook multiple times. This drug may be for deworming for cows and horses, but it is not meant for people. The FDA recommends against it, and it's used.
Yes, it is.
All right.
It's
order in the
recommended. The FDA says it should not be used for COVID-19 for humans. And according to Dr. Hotex, national expert in the field, recommending ivermectin for human use against COVID constitutes malpractice. And you hold a position of influence, Mr. Larry, and you should not be in the business of recommending medical treatments for something that is not recommended by FDA and in fact recommended against.
Yeah, you need a vaccine.
Is there any other final board comment?
I would just like to thank Kathy Moore for.
Thank you, Kathy. Meeting is adjourned.
I was